Welcome, everybody. I'm Cheri and I am so glad to have everybody with me tonight. I have a room full of occupational therapists and dyslexia tutors. So this is going to be fun because this is taking my two worlds and blending them right together, because I firmly believe that between dyslexia and dysgraphia, it hits where my heart lies. So that is where we're going tonight. And let me share my screen. I want that one. You know, that whole thing with Zoom, you got to really pay attention to which button you're pushing so that everybody can see what they're looking at. So right now you see it say Introduction to Dysgraphia. Yes? Give me a thumbs up. All right. All right. So I got an information from one of you that says you're from Tennessee. Can everybody else put in the chat where you're from for me? I'll try to remember who is the OT and who is the dyslexia tutor here. Michigan, Texas. Come on, New York City. I know you're here. All right. So we have Michigan and Texas. Fort Lauderdale. Ronnie, I was there a month ago. Did you know that? Ah, man. Yeah, I was reaching out, trying to find somebody. I stayed overnight in Boca Raton, and then I was in Delray Beach. We did book launch for Becoming You. So I was down there for the book launch.
I'm sorry, I missed you.
So Kelly and Brenda, do you know one another since you're both from Michigan? No? All right. So who's here for the first time? Can you put a 1 in the chat if you're here for the first time? Wow, Kelly, Brenda. All right. Ronnie's been here before. Kaya's been here before. All right. Jennifer, you've been here before? I think I remember your name. All right. Wonderful. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Let's talk a little bit more about me, and then we're going to get on to some of the fun stuff that we have here tonight. So I hail from Pennsylvania. The pretzel city capital of the world is Reading, Pennsylvania, and I live in the same county as Reading. I am not in Reading, but down the street. So there has been a magazine called Global Health and Pharma Magazine reached out to me and told me back in the end of 2020 that I won an award for 2020. No, back in 2021, I won an award for 2022. And then they reached back out to me and said, hey, you won it again. So those 4 awards that you see there are from Global Health and Pharma Magazine. I have no idea how I got nominated. I don't know how they found me, but they did. And they granted me those couple awards there. So I have to share them with you. I am the author of Handwriting, Brain, Body, Disconnect. That is the white one here in the middle. And that book was published in 2019. And that October, it won a top 10 award in the Author Academy Awards. And that was the second and last year that they offered the Academy Awards, because the Academy Awards got a hold of them. So they thought it was a great idea, but they did. Anyway, last year I contributed to 3 books. Becoming You is down there on the left. I have it right behind me. I talked about that with Ronnie just a minute ago, that we had our book launch down in Delray Beach, Florida last April, where all the authors got to contribute. I am one of 15 authors, and what we did with this book is we told our story. So back in 2015, I'm hearing somebody. Kaya, can you check the microphones? No, okay. Let me see if I can find the participant file. Oh, somebody's waiting to come in. Mute. All right. All right. Got that. So anyway, I'm one of 15 authors with Becoming You. We each told our story. And my story summary is in 2015, although I was an occupational therapist doing well at my job, the rest of my world was crashing down around me. And I was getting to the point where I was like, I can't deal with life anymore. And I just was like, after an argument with my husband, I left the house and I was going to a hotel. I have no idea where. And it got to the point where I was like, why the heck am I doing this? Like reality set in. And I came back to the house and we've been working through a lot of issues here at the house. And lo and behold, one of the things is that I felt like I needed more in life. Working as a school-based therapist was fine, but it wasn't what I wanted. I wanted to be out sharing and teaching. And that's what I am doing today. And my dream is to have a retreat center that you can all come to Pennsylvania and share yourselves, share about what it is that you are learning about dysgraphia. Also have a tutoring center there as well. So long term, in my short years here that I have in the working years, I would like to have a retreat center. So I've actually been doing a lot of investigation into real estate and what that looks like. So it's been very interesting seeing how I went from really feeling like, why am I here, to this is what legacy that I would like to leave. So that's what the Becoming You book is about. So it is available on Kindle and in paperback on Amazon. You can find it there. The book that's next to it, the Routledge International Handbook of Visual Motor Skills, Handwriting and Spelling, is legitimately the brand new textbook for handwriting across the world. It is 34 chapters of nothing but visual motor skills, handwriting and spelling. And I contributed one chapter to this textbook that is the new textbook of handwriting. And I'll tell you what, I got to read some of the other authors. It is powerful. I'm looking forward to it being released. Pre-orders are being taken right now. If you wait till the pre-orders are at their limit at the end of August or beginning of August, the price will be going up. So if you want a link that gives you a discount from Amazon, send me an email after the fact because I have to go dig it out. But I do have a link that'll give you $50 off. But if you're not a professor, you may not also be interested in that. Right now, next week, the 5th of June, is that next week? I am headed out to Columbus to finalize all the details of Math Disconnected with my co-author, Jonalise Zupanzik, and then it's going off to the editor, and we should have it in our hands that we can share it sometime in July or August. So it is that close, guys. If you've not heard about it before, Math Disconnected is a story about 7th grade teacher, some 7th grade students, and how Jonalise and I interlaced our lives into theirs and have now changed their lives. So it's really been a powerful experience, and watching all of these characters grow. My mission is to help innovative teachers who hate when kids are pulled from the classroom because their students are missing their educational experiences by designing multidisciplinary teaching environments to help support writing challenges. How many of us OTs are pulling kids out of the classroom? Even the dyslexia teachers in the room, we're pulling kids out of the classroom to do this one-on-one. But the kids hate it. They hate getting pulled out. The teachers hate it. I'm looking at how can we bring what we're doing into the regular ed classroom and help all students. And I believe that there is a reason for this, and that is that 75% of fourth graders in 2017, when they took the writing scores the last time, 75% were writing at a basic level, not proficient, basic. Now, all the scores came out back in January and February on reading and math. Reading was down 23%, math was down 50%. They didn't even report on writing because writing was so bad to begin with, they were afraid to even touch it. Either that or they did touch it and it was that bad that they weren't even about to tell the rest of the world about what it is. But the problem is there is a disconnect between where's the teaching of reading and the teaching of writing. And what I'd like to see is what is happening with the reading, with structured literacy, is they have taken this tier 3, MTSS level, RTI level 3, and they're bringing it down as a tier 1. And they're having kids learn that intense level. So they're having a lot more research in it. So we're converting what used to be tier 3 into tier 1. I think that we can do that with writing as well. And we can get these writing skills of these kids up tremendously. So which did come first? The ADHD or the dysgraphia? Want to give your opinion? Write an A for ADHD and write a D for dysgraphia in the chat. Which came first? Which comes first, the ADHD or the dysgraphia? Which is more prevalent? Kaya says ADHD. Laura says ADHD. It could be either. A may be identified first. A, ADHD. Nice, guys. The ADHD is the one that is going to take over because it's utilizing the frontal lobe. It's using the executive skills. And there's that disconnect there. So when we're looking at it from a neurological standpoint, they're looking at the ADHD as a neurological condition and the dysgraphia as a developmental delay, a functional disconnect. So which came first and which do we address first? We need to address the ADHD first. So I mentioned the RTI model where tier 1 is universal. Everybody gets those interventions. Tier 2 is targeted. And those are those kids that are getting pulled to the side, but they're still in the classroom. And then those intensive kids are the ones that are getting pulled out. Kelly, I do have a question for you. Are you pulling your students out? Or are you seeing them in a tutoring clinic? Or how are you interfacing with your students?
So I have a history of working one-on-one in a tutoring center, but at this point, I'm actually instructing teachers on how to implement OG. So I'm a trainer.
Nice.
Yeah.
Perfect. I need, like I said, I need more of you. So are you seeing a shift in the RTI model with the structured literacy implementation?
Am I seeing a shift? I mean, we address the different tiers explicitly when we guide teachers to implement our program. Like, we're pretty specific about how many students in the group, how many minutes per week. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Which one are you instructing?
Do you mean which program?
Yeah.
Phonics First and Structures.
Phonics First.
I work for a company called Brain Spring. So we do a lot in Alabama, lot in Michigan, obviously, in Idaho, Arkansas big time.
Okay.
Mm.
All right. Thank you. So for those of us who are not as well versed in what's happening in this, when I talk about this structured literacy, back in the 80s, I'm even going to go back that far because I remember this happening when I was in high school. So I am dating myself. I remember them passing legislation that they were going to delve all this money into helping kids learn how to read. Because when I graduated from high school back in the 80s, early 80s, mind you, so yes, I am dating myself here. 75% of the kids were graduating from high school and could not read. I remember looking at around the classroom and going, you mean to say he can't read? He can't read, she can't read. And legitimately, they were struggling to read. And if they can't read, are we ever going to get them to really be able to write? Not effectively. So they began this research. One of the first go rounds was whole language. And that was where we're looking at the whole word. We're trying to decipher what it is in the sentence, in the context. And so there are 4 of them remaining: reading recovery, 4 blocks, daily cafe, and whole language umbrella. I'm going back to you, Kelly. Do you hear about any of these at this point?
I hear about them in that they're not good. They're not effective. We shouldn't be using them. When I started teaching in the classroom in the year 2000, and 4 blocks was the main thing. Reading recovery was happening also, but in terms of like general ed, 4 blocks was big. So, and lately I've heard about them on the Sold Story podcast.
Nice. You're going to have to help me out with that.
Okay.
We're going to be talking after this. I can feel it now. So then there was this emergent, after some education and some research, into balanced language. And there was a lot more different varieties. And did you say phonics first? Is that on here?
No.
Nope. So I think I've heard of that one. And if you look at the top left there, really, it's this whole balance between whole language. So they're looking at that whole word, trying to decipher it, and interlacing a little bit of phonics in there to help decipher words. But the thing with balanced language is they were doing a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And there wasn't any sequence. And Kaya put Hooked on Phonics in here. Hooked on Phonics was the thing that my kid grew up with. And I thought, yeah, she did really well learning how to read with that one. And then my other one, he did really well learning how to read. But I was just at a conference on the structured literacy, and I was like, where does Hooked on Phonics fall? Hooked on Phonics is a balanced language, because what happens with Hooked on Phonics is they didn't have this sequence and structure so that they could implement the literacy education in a sequential pattern effectively enough. So this research is continuing to develop, and the structured literacy programs that you should be hearing about this coming year, school year, are Reading Naturally, Orton Gillingham. Orton Gillingham is like the overarching thing, and everything underneath it are all branches of Orton Gillingham. Explode the Code, Linda Mood Bell, Voyager Sporus Learning. There was another name for that particular brand. That was the company name. Brain Spring,
That's me.
Barton, Spire. Okay. Really great reading. I'm not quite sure what that, there was another name with that one. Sound Partners, Take Flight. Take Flight is a very it's in Texas. It's common in Texas. Wilson is here in the Northeast. So that's the one that I hear about. And I just met the nephew of the creator of Linda Moot Bell a couple months ago. And he now has a program, which is not on here, called the Now program, which is a competitor to Orton Gillingham. So I just want you to see the names of some of these curriculums that you might be looking at when they're talking about this reading and the changes. But how does that correlate to writing? So where are we at with the writing? Can anybody tell me what writing program that they have in their school? Can you put that in the chat? I mean, school-wide, not that the OTs are pulling out and utilizing one, but do you have any programs hooked on handwriting without tears? Okay. Kelly, does your program have a handwriting program to go with it?
We use handwriting without tears when we use, yeah.
Okay. All right. So handwriting without tears has been around since the 90s. There are a couple other programs that you might hear about when I go to the next slide. So what the idea here is taking what used to be that targeted or that intensive training with that from handwriting without tears, pull that down and have that be universal across the school so that all kids are learning. And not all schools are incorporating a handwriting curriculum into their program. So some of the programs that are out there, we have loops and groups and handwriting success, which are dealing a little bit more with cursive. We have Foundations, which is the Wilson program. We have Cursive Logic dealing with cursive. We have Handwriting Without Tears and Size Matters that both have print and cursive. Zainer Blaser has print and cursive. Cal Aerobics, I think they're just print, but I could be wrong. They might be both. Denilian is this bridge between print and cursive, and Universal Publishing is more like what I can get when I go to Staples. So we have all of these curriculums, and when I look at the curriculums, what are they trying to accomplish? They're trying to help teach kids size, shape, spacing, but ultimately legibility. Am I right? Are those the three things that we're really trying to accomplish with a handwriting program? Is there anything else? Direction? Is that part of shape? Or do you really think that that's a different area? I always see your
I think it's different.
back and forth.
I think it's different because it includes the motor part of it.
Okay.
The shape doesn't include the motor.
Okay. I will keep that in mind for the next time. According to the DSM-5, when we really are trying to figure out where the disconnect is between writing and a disability in written expression, the DSM-5 says that a disability in written expression includes grammar, punctuation, capitalization, sentence structure, paragraph organization, clarity, and spelling. They also add these two qualifiers in that the activity demands can be different from as the kid ages, and it can interfere with activities of daily living. So when I say the definition, and we're looking at the handwriting programs that are there, do these handwriting programs address grammar, punctuation, capitalization, sentence structure, paragraph organization, clarity, and spelling? What's your opinion? Can you put that in the chat? Yes or no? Do they really address it? Handwriting Without Tears does to some. I think they are touching on it, but one of the things that I'm concerned about is, how do I say this? I keep getting, as an OT, we don't address capitalization and punctuation. We don't address grammar. But if we're a multidisciplinary team, we can pull from each other's strengths and we can have it addressed immediately in the classroom. Right Without Tears shows it as graded in the screener. Yes, I do agree. And I do agree each one of them has some degree of this, but I don't think we effectively have had enough research and education to blend the curriculum and the definition to really help combine them.
I don't think Size Matters actually has grammar or punctuation in it at all, if I'm correct.
You might be right. You might be right. Shift your camera. All we see is your forehead. That's better. Thank you. Thank you. So if we look at the learning pyramid, we have all of these skills that these kids need to have incorporated into their system before we even touch academics. And this is where my heart believes that there's this huge disconnect between what we understand about writing, what it is, and where we need to get there. And so I've been doing a lot of research on where this connection happens. And one of the things that I've discovered is, although we've addressed directly visual, spatial, and motor in a lot of the OT treatment, there's a component of memory that I believe that we really need to address a little bit closer. And I believe that we're getting there, but we're doing it in a roundabout way. And that is where impact comes from. Impact stands for interoception, metacognition, perseverance, consistency, and transcendence. So let me go into what I mean here for any of those of you who don't know and have not heard of interoception before. I did put the definition down here because that might be a term that hit you off guard. It's really an understanding of what's happening inside your body and kind of what's happening around you. So what I'd like you to do right now is get out your phone. I want you to turn on that camera, and I wanted you to put the camera so it's facing you. With your camera facing you, I want you to look at your face. Look at the lines on your face. Look at the position of your mouth. Look at the position of your nose and your eyes. Now, look really intently into your own eyes and say out loud, "I love you." Ronnie, I want you to unmute and tell me your reaction to that. Maybe she can't unmute.
There we go.
There it is.
Hi. I just got a big view of me, so I'm just trying to move this over. Okay. I just started to laugh.
You started to laugh.
You know, when I said those words, it was kind of like, oh, I have to remind myself of that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. How about you, Brenda? What is your reaction to that?
I never like seeing myself in the camera, so
So it
it's
was
always
awkward
good.
even before I got to the part that says "I love you," huh?
Yes, well, I wiggle a lot, so that's why I turn off my camera. So
It's okay. Keep wiggling. Keep wiggling.
Yeah.
How about you, Jennifer?
I thought it was a little strange too. I'm looking at myself and I looked and I thought, I look like I'm frowning. Like my focus face looks like a frown face. And
Mhm.
anyway, just surprising.
Yeah. How about you, Laura?
So I think everybody likes to hear the words, I love you. And so whenever you hear that, you just naturally smile. And I think it takes away those lines and wrinkles and just makes you happier.
I love it. I love it. Jessica, hey, I didn't realize you were here. Hi, Jessica. How about you? Tell me what you thought.
I have to agree. I thought the whole thing was uncomfortable.
Okay.
The looking in the camera, looking at myself. Yeah, thought the whole thing brought discomfort.
All right. Now, and Jen, there's Jen here too. Jen, I haven't asked you this question. How did you feel about that one? If it's the Jen, I think it is, she is probably pulling weeds. So, so she probably can't come on. So with our kids, and we really need to think about what is going on with them. What do you think is happening with this one? Can you put it in the chat? Give me some ideas of what might be happening with this kiddo. What do you think they might be saying to you if you were working with them in the classroom? Bellyache, tummy hurts, tummy hurts, tummy hurts. Okay. What else could be going on though, other than stomach hurts? Too hard. Ah, love it. Anxiety. Yes. Yes. Anger. So when we're really looking at interoception, it's really trying to be a detective and understanding what's underneath. And those uncomfortable anxiety, anger feelings are going to prevent kids from writing. So before we ever put a pencil in a kid's hand, we really need to understand those feelings that they're feeling about themselves, about others, and what is distracting their mind. So part of understanding of interoception here is really understanding what is going on with the child before we ever get to the writing task itself. The next word in impact is metacognition. And metacognition means thinking about thinking. When we have all of this sensory stuff coming into our system, you guys that are OTs, where does it go? Where does that information go that is coming into our system? Where is its first spot that it stops or passes through? If you want to call it out, Ronnie or Kaya, your lights are off, or Clara, if you want to, Jen, it doesn't matter. What happens when all that sensory gut stuff comes into our system and it hits the brain? Where's the thing that it's hitting first? It's going through the brainstem, and it's kind of getting into that limbic system, and it's getting into the filter, where the filtering system in the reticular activating system is trying to decide whether are we going to ignore this or are we going to react to it? And then if we're reacting to it, where do I need to send that information? So this filtering system really is taking all that sensory information, but kids are still developing that system. So sometimes we've got kids that are thinking about these little idiosyncrasies about that. And I think that's where a lot of the sensory processing issues come in, is there is this disconnect between what we need to inhibit and what we need to not inhibit or pay attention to. Hence, we got issues with tags and clothes and things like that. So metacognition is really helping them decipher those sensory feelings. process. Perseverance. This is one that touches my heart. And Jessica, I know you're probably going to shoot me for this one when you see me in person again. But one of the things that I really drives me crazy about special education is we break things down so far that the kids don't know where they're going next. So right now, I want you to grab a sheet of paper that you're not using for your notes. I want you to put that paper on top of your head. With your pencil, I want you to draw a circle on the paper. Next to that one, don't be looking, Ronnie. Next to that circle, I want you to put another circle. Now I want you to put a third circle. Now I want you to go back to the first circle and I want you to draw a smiley face in there. Now I want you to put 3 pieces of coal down the center like those buttons. Now we need to put sticks on the middle one, so a middle circle, so we can have arms. And then you got to put a scarf around that snowman and then bring it down and look what it looks like. I did not give you the directions. I didn't tell you what you were making at first. I just had you make something. And part of the things that we get so very, thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing, Kaya. One of the things that we do is we break things down so much, the kids forget and they lose track of the end game. They lose track of where things are going. And so having that balance.
I didn't know that the 3 circles were supposed to be in a row. You just told me to make 3 circles. I made them
Exactly. So keeping in mind that even for you as the dyslexia tutor, Kelly, looking at what is the end result that we want to have done today? How are we going to get there? And sometimes helping these kids understand the steps along the way by seeing the big picture is very helpful for them. And they really need help celebrating that perseverance because they are so torn down along the way. Consistency. Everybody going to sing it with me. We're going to start our letters at the top. We're going to start our letters at the top. I don't remember the rest of it. It's been too long.
If you want to start your letters, then you better remember to start them at the top.
Thank
Is this
you.
the top?
I couldn't remember it. Thank you.
Middle? Is this the top? It's the top. Where do you start your letters at the top?
Bless you. Thank you. Helping them with that consistency, mixing music is going to be very helpful, but keeping things consistent. The structured literacy programs have really done a fantastic job in creating that consistency with language over time. We just need to catch up with writing. That's all. We need to catch up. So I just threw a couple things in there that we often talk about. We're talking about starting the letters at the top. We talk about sizes of the letters. We talk about gaps and points in our letters. Some people talk about spaghetti and meatballs in our spacing, and legibility is ultimate goal. Transcendence. Transcendence is really, what does it look like over time? Even from preschool on, our goal is what's happening on graduation day, right? What's happening on graduation from college? Where are we going? So even though we're writing IEPs for a year at a time, we also need to be able to come back and hit transcendence. And I went looking What do you want to be when you grow up? I don't know, Kaya. Can you tell me what I want to be? Anyway, when I went looking for some information on transcendence, because I like this term, I like this idea over time, there was two things that came to my mind, and or two things that they described, and that is the life cycle of a butterfly, or the life cycle of a seed and germination into whatever it's going to be. It takes this time, but the stages of transcendence was one of the things that really got to my heart. And that is, all of these kids are facing this trauma that they can't write. And they get caught in the trauma. How are we going to get them out that they can adjust their life story, change their habits from negative to positive, and create powerful evolution out of this trauma and transcend through it? And that's what I've been working on, is trying to find activities that are helping overcome that negative to positive. No more negative feedback loop. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So I don't have it in here, but one of the things that is really understanding that those 5 senses that we talked about earlier, there's 3 more. And that's the proprioception, the vestibular, and the interoception. Talked about the interoception when we talked about impact. Proprioception, OTs know about it, but for those of you who aren't OTs that are here in the room, proprioception is really a message from the brain to the joint to say how much you're going to push and pull and tighten up the muscles on that joint to do whatever task it needs to be done. So I'm going to use the knee because it's easy, because it's a lever. We have the knee here, we got the joint in here. There's this message that's coming from the brain down to the knee joint to go, you need, with running, that the knee goes a little bit, separates a little bit. What muscles are going to tighten as we're doing that particular stride? Which one is going to loosen up in the middle of the stride, and getting that sync to go foot by foot to help kids along. Take that to the shoulder, which is a rotating joint, adding another layer other than just that push-pull. We have the circular motion too. So Kelly, here's one of the little tricks I want to share with you. When you're doing air writing with the kids, do it with both sides of the body, and do it with the palms away from them so that the message in their shoulders. No problem, Jessica. So that the message in their shoulders is getting to the brain the way that their hands need to be writing. So, for example, I know Wilson much better than your program, so I'm going to be using some of the Wilson thoughts here. One of the things that Wilson likes to do is they like to tap the fingers. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I like to do is tap the hands instead, doing both of them. Or if we're going to do air writing, put both fingers together and air write it.
So I tend to see a lot of like this.
Yeah, I like big arm movements when we're doing air writing.
We always try to say, do it from the shoulder with a straight arm.
Yeah, and you want to keep your palms away from you, because that's where your hands are going to be eventually wrapping them with a pencil. But if you do it with both hands together, you're going to get much more overlap in the brain, and the memory is going to stick more. So, for example, writing the number 8 in the air, both hands together. I've tried that. It works There's one more trick to it that I've been using, and it's much more effective. So everybody put your hands out in front of you. Brenda, I can't see you. Jen, I can't see you. Laura, Jen, can't see you. Hands out in front of you, one behind the other, keeping your palms away from each other, and you're going to interlace. So interlace. There you go, Ronnie. You got it. I can't see your hands, Jennifer. There you go. You got it. Okay, hands up over your head. Vertical 8. Write an 8 in the air. So Laura, what did you notice? You're muted yet.
The weight at my shoulders.
What about your shoulders?
The weight.
The weight on your shoulders.
The
Okay.
weight and the direction.
All right. Jennifer Henderson, how about you?
Myself really having to think about the directions a little bit more, like with less automaticity and really having to focus on
Mhm.
that and using my big body movements to help.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Brenda?
Same thing. The other thing, I noticed like doing both hands, you're doing a lot of midline crossing when you do both hands together.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And Ronnie, how about you?
I was just going to say what Brenda said, as well as just getting, being able to cross midline like that. It reminds me of the infinity loop, so that you're trying to balance both sides of the brain, and
Yeah.
it came to mind.
Now, the infinity loop is sideways. It's a lazy 8.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
The big difference here, if you want to try it again with me, do it like a lazy 8. And tell me how you feel that it's different. Go back to the vertical, try it. And then try the lazy 8. What do you notice that's different?
This, not the directionality, the size, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Less core.
Less
Less
core. That's what you
core.
said. Okay. Less core. Brenda, how about you?
I'm still trying to figure out. Yeah, now see, I see more core when you're doing the lazy 8 than the regular 8.
Okay.
Because I guess maybe because I'm sitting, I'm doing more twisting when I'm doing my lazy 8. As
Maybe,
opposed to just
maybe.
being stationary.
Maybe. Kelly, you're not the OT, so I'm going to get you this time. What did you notice?
So when I do the lazy one, I feel like there's less muscles engaged. Like when I did the vertical one, it was like, wow, so many muscles in my back are awake. Just my shoulder, everything was very awake.
Mm-hmm. So the other thing that's happening, if you actually take it and you look at it now, I'm probably going to write the 8 like I would normally write it. So it's probably backwards as I'm sharing it. When you're writing it, you've got the curve, you cross midline, you come around the bottom, you cross midline and come back up to the center. So you're doing this diagonal that's going across your body, like NDT. When you're doing it with a lazy 8, you're crossing at midline. Your diagonal is off to the side. Your target, your center is in the middle. So the reason the vertical 8 is more difficult is because you're actually crossing midline on the diagonal. So the reason this is so important is because you're going to get both hands doing the activity. It's going to reinforce the memory. So Kelly, hopefully this little tidbit will help you really empower the reading connection before kids write. Anybody else want to give any comments before I move on to some vestibular thoughts? No? Okay. With vestibular, I'm going to talk with Kelly a little bit. I think if that's Jen Porter, she's a teacher. But I'm not sure which Jen that is. And if it's Jen Porter, she had already told me that she wasn't going to be able to be online. Anyway, so Kelly, with vestibular system, the idea of the vestibular system is it's your brain needs to know where your body is at all times, and it wants to be perpendicular to the ground. Okay.
Mhm.
So every time you're moving your head, it wants your shoulders to kind of come along with it. And that's where the idea of the robot comes in. Okay. So we got kids that are writing on the board. We got kids that are writing from a book into their notebook. We've got kids that are just struggle with tracking in general. The vestibular system has a very high neurological matrix that's happening. So it's connecting the eyes, the head, the shoulders. And kids that are struggling with the vestibular system, the reason they can't look at the board and then look down at their paper is that immature vestibular system gets lost. It's going, wait a minute, you moved your head now? I'm still trying to figure out where it was and why it's not perpendicular to the ground.
Okay.
If you want to give it a nutshell, that's what the vestibular system is trying to do. So all these kids that are struggling with copying, the vestibular system and is just not keeping up. OTs, have you heard it described that way before? Did that give you a better way to articulate it to a parent or a teacher? Okay. Any thoughts about vestibular system that you want to add here? Ronnie, did you want to add something? No.
Just with the vestibular system, I see a lot of kids with ocular motor issues, and I'm trying to explain to the parents talking about the vestibular system, and I like the way you put it together to present it in just in a nutshell. That made a lot of sense too. So thank you.
So,
Thank you.
Cheri, just to clarify a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So students with dysgraphia have an immature vestibular system. Am I connecting that right?
Typically, they do go hand in hand, yes.
Okay.
So it's probably the other way around. Kids with an immature vestibular system most likely have dysgraphia.
I see. Okay.
So part of the reason I have the tumbleweed there is because of the head moving all the time. And so thinking about the vestibular system as this tumbleweed. Oh, I love it. Oh, thank you for doing that and not making my neck hurt. And then we talked a little bit about interoception a little bit ago, so I'm not going to go into that any further. So what I'd like to do is share a couple more little tidbits on some ideas to help you with those basic skills. Because if we're really focusing on the sensory system, that's where we need to begin, is to really get the sensory system working effectively before we are going to make any motor changes. One of the things that I've discovered by accident, I had a kid who was a little bit older, like 4th, 5th grade, and he was still struggling with writing the letter A. And I was like, I've been working with you with this for 2 years. What's going on? And finally, I was working with him in his home. Finally, mom gives me the book from school, and the book from school had everything written in Arial. I was trying to teach him like Poppins. And I'm like, here's where this disconnect is. No wonder he's not making the connections between what he's reading and what the writing program was that he was using at school were not what I was teaching. So that consistency was off, for one thing. But he also wasn't understanding the A, the G, and those other typeset letters. So one of the things that I encourage, if you're having a kid who's struggling with recognition, change the font. So Kelly, I don't know what font your reading program is in, but these ones on the bottom. The Century Gothic is a Microsoft product. Poppins and Quicksand are Google fonts, so if, they'll be in any Google system. Lexen Deca is one that you have to ask to be installed, but it's free to install. So you go into lexend.com, ask them for their newsletter, download it. They'll give you the installation codes for the font, and then you have it. And there's like 6 of them, 6 different varieties of Lexend. I just happen to have Deca on there.
Just on behalf of my company, I know that they recently reprinted all of our materials in a wonderful, I think they call it an elementary font,
Okay.
but it's to meet this need for students.
Yeah. Now, a lot of people will say, well, what about the Dyslexia font? Because you can go on and you can change your whole system with one click of a button to share almost every website in a Dyslexia font. The problem I'm finding with the Dyslexia font is that kids want to draw it. And then we have kids coloring in the bottom of the font, and they've lost track of actually how to write it. So if you don't know what the Dyslexia font is, you'll have to go online later and look it up. It has a heavy bottom, which is great for recognition. It doesn't correlate well from going from reading to writing. So there needs to be something. If you're using the Dyslexia font for reading, you need to convert it to something else before they go to copy it. With motor, I shared with you the vertical 8. The other thing that I try to encourage, and most OTs do this already, is really trying to get some core involved and strengthen that core, tighten those glutes, get kids standing, and that's what the handstand flip does. The handstand flip, I actually have 12 variations on it, and I've had some OTs using it in treatment and sharing pictures with me. I've had some teachers sharing pictures with me on what it looks like in the classroom. It's absolutely hilarious watching an entire classroom do the handstand flip all at one time, because the kids are having such trouble standing upright, especially in full extension, that the handstand flip forces them to do. So the handstand flip is basically a handstand standing up. And the reason it works is because it forces your entire body to be in extension. Everybody wants to curl up in that fetal position. They're reading in a fetal position. They're writing at a desk, kind of which is sort of a fetal position. This just gives them a counterbalance. So this exercise, and then the 7 variations are available on my website. And what we're finding is that kids are being able to sit up at their desk much easier after doing this. And the heavier the book, the better, because the better extension you're going to get in your wrist. But you can't go too heavy, because then, like, no Christensen and Baum, thank you. Who used Christensen and Baum in school? Ronnie's looking at me. Christensen and Baum is one of those textbooks that by an OT that's like 4 inches thick. It's a little too heavy. Must be an East Coast thing there, Kaya. I can't hear you, Ronnie. You're muted.
I'm a Jersey girl originally.
You're a Jersey girl. Okay, maybe it's a Pennsylvania, New York thing. I don't know.
There you go.
Well, it's East Coast because my OT school is in Florida. So yeah.
That's right. I forgot that. So, Laura, gonna call on you. What do you see? You're muted.
Sorry. I see a cool inviting pool with a lot of sharp edges.
Inviting pool with a lot of sharp edges. Brenda, what do you notice?
The lounge chairs next to the pool, and how nice it would be to be there.
Now, nice it would be to be there. Kelly, what questions can you come up with this particular picture?
Besides, how do I get there quick? I'm in Michigan, remember, although it's very hot today.
Sounds like Lake Michigan for me.
Where is this located? Why is it empty? Yeah.
All right. And Jennifer, how does it make you feel?
Oh, it makes me feel calm. I'm just picturing myself sitting in a chair, like in that front section where it looks like it's very shallow, and just lounging right there in that little bit of water.
All right. Now, I want you to go ahead, Ronnie.
Hi, I have to go. I'm so sorry.
Not a problem. Not a problem. It's good
Thank
to
you
have you
so
here.
much.
Did I give you any little thoughts and takeaways, and did it make any connection to dysgraphia and how you're working with kids?
It definitely did, because now I think I can explain a little better to parents about the vestibular system and the dysgraphia, because they just didn't see relationship. It was just poor handwriting. And I'm like,
Mhm.
they're not alone. And so I like learning a new way to share information. So thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Okay, I have two questions. The first one I would ask a kid is, can you see the ocean? That's number one, because I can. Do you? Come on. The other is that picture on the top right with the little people in it, was that there the whole time, or did you just add it?
It was there when I clicked it on there.
Just noticed it just now. I only saw that inviting pool to go into. I did not see those people there at all.
There you go. There you go. And that's local here in Hamburg. There we go. Okay, so back to the picture. So I asked you guys 4 questions. So go ahead and write them down. What do you see? What do you notice? What questions can you come up with? And how does it make you feel? Why are those questions important?
Is that all the sensory interoception?
That's the
Just-
whole interoception thing. It's a way of getting perspective for the child and understanding what they understand. So I've given this particular image to a bunch of autistic kids. I am not getting the same response as what you got when I give this to an autistic kid. All they see is the sand in the background and they want to run. They don't see calm, because there are a lot of kids with autism that are sensory averse. Some kids are sensory averse about pools. So you don't expect what you might think is a calm, inviting pool to be calm and inviting to everyone. So when we look at spelling, one of the ways that we can help with spelling is with games. This is an OT that has created a spelling game for her kids. I could tell you on that board, some of it is French because this was for her own child, and she was also trying to get the kid to go, tell me in English and tell me in French. So there's a little bit of complexity with this particular game. But the image was effective just to share with you. But this was created by one of the OTs who has taken my program. And she was working with spelling with the kids and created a game out of it, and was using the spelling words of the week. With sentences, we talked a lot earlier about capitalization, punctuation, grammar and such. No, I'm not necessarily working on capitalization, punctuation, and grammar. However, recognition thereof is definitely in my scope of practice as an OT. And I will encourage kids to identify and recognize. So in this particular case, I use the rectangle or the square for the capitals and a circle for the punctuation. You can do whatever it is that you want. You can do highlighters. I just had an interview for my podcast with a lady who uses highlighter tape. And I was like, tell me more. What is that? So it's kind of like, oh gosh, what's the stuff that Megan Fox makes that has the handwriting?
Washi tape.
But this is just highlighter. It's just for when you're reading. You just highlight the words based on the color, and they have different colors, and you highlight on your book, and then it's removable, kind of like the tape that you would use to paint a room. So utilizing different resources, different kinds of ways to acknowledge the recognition is something that we can do as in scope of practice. Kelly, is this something that you do as a dyslexia tutor?
Yes, that's about as in-depth as we get. In our remediation practice is identifying and checking, whenever we do sentence dictation, did you include those things? Yeah.
Okay, so there are several other ways other than the boxes and stuff like that. So if you haven't heard of highlighter tape, something to think about to help with the kids with recognition.
Cheri, is that lowercase l in a box because you thought it was a capital I?
I live near the middle of the route.
Oh,
And
the
the
red-
L kind of got suckered, and I couldn't make the box small enough that you could see the L.
Got
Sorry.
it. No worries.
That's a factual sentence, by the way. I do live right about the middle of the Appalachian Trail. So when I'm looking at paragraphs and I'm helping with kids with writing them, I utilize my phone a lot. The two apps that I use a lot are Otter AI and Grammarly. When I'm working with a kid that is having a lot of trouble going from oral expression to written expression, I will have Otter AI record the conversation. What's nice about Otter AI is it adds a transcription. Depending on what I'm looking at for that child, they can either have the transcription and copy it. They can not have the transcription and just listen to it and listen to the dictation and write the sentence down, or they listen to the whole thing and now I want you to create your own sentence and self-generate a new sentence. So I utilize those resources, and then after I'm done with whatever I need to do with notes and stuff like that, I erase the conversation. But Otter AI is amazing. It does cost a little bit of money though. And how can we then take all of these things and bring them from these targeted and intensive things that we utilize as OTs and bring them down into the classroom? One of the ways that I feel strongly is if we change and shift our model of delivery from a caseload model to a workload model. And part of that workload model is that we are standing alongside Kelly while she's doing the one-on-one treatment, and we're providing supportive care. But it's better if we can pull Kelly and Cheri into the regular ed classroom and support the child as in collaboration with the regular ed and or special ed and or para and whoever. So we could almost have as many students as we have staff in the classroom helping these kids overcome these challenges and look beyond the classroom of that moment and see that end game and see what graduation looks like and find their potential. So my mission is to take what we typically think of as tier 2, tier 3, bring it down and become tier 1. So how to go about doing that and learn more? The best way to do that would be to get your certification as a dysgraphia specialist. And there's a code right there. Let me move the chat out of the way. Here is a link that you don't have to do the chat thing. Jessica's no longer here. Everyone in meeting. Ching, ching. Now, I recommend that you do this on a computer, not your iPhone, but you will need, if you're already a member of the Writing Glitch community, you will need to have your access to your password and stuff like that to get onto the computer, because iPhone charges more. So don't do that way. But if you are interested in learning more about how to bring that to tier 1, that's where we're going. What do we need to do to get there? We have this 4-step process. To get your certification, you could just pay it right up front and then all of this stuff is included, or you can piecemeal it and you can pay along the way. The first thing that you do is the roadmap to hacking dysgraphia, the 5-day challenge. The second thing would be the dysgraphia toolkit. The third thing is the warm-up protocol. The fourth thing is the method. And after you complete all of your requirements, you can get certified as a dysgraphia specialist. This program has been approved by the Department of Education here in Pennsylvania, and any practice act that reciprocates with Pennsylvania Department of Education, which is 46 of the 50 states, the Department of Ed reciprocates with one another. So for the most part, as long as your practice act in your state reciprocates with the Department of Education, you can get your certification and not have any trouble. If your particular practice act does not reciprocate with your state Department of Ed, then you have more trouble. So we have the traditional path, which is what I just shared with you. There's another cue to do that, or we have the fast track. The fast track, the big difference is going from monthly group coaching to weekly one-on-one with me. So if you're interested in the certification and you want to get it done by time school rolls around again, we can do that using the fast track. But I ask that you have a phone call with me one-on-one so we can talk about those details. And that link is here to have that phone call with me. And if you don't know how to get a hold of me, the best way is this. There's all the links to find me. And for those of you who may or may not have known, I am the host of The Writing Glitch. And we are now on 20 episodes that have been out there. And we are going strong. I thought I was going to be taking the summer off, but I have enough that we're going all the way through the summer. We're just going to keep rolling. So I'm going to stop my screen. And one thing I like to do before everybody goes away is I like to ask one thing from you. And that is, what was your key takeaway? I asked Ronnie quick before she left. I didn't catch Jessica. She told me too quickly. So Jennifer Henderson, what was your key takeaway of the night?
You know what? I loved that little technique you talked about, the reverse handstand, the handstand flip, because I have so many kids that have a rounded posture, and I feel like that could be so beneficial for so many reasons. And then relating it back to the flexed posture, which is like a calming and a position of comfort and what they go to for reading and writing. I had never thought about doing that. And I love that little trick.
Here is the link to get the 7 different varieties. Okay. Laura, this is not the first time you've been with me, is it? I think I've seen your name before.
I think about a year ago.
Okay. What did you learn new tonight?
Just the importance of looking at the whole concept of the child, alternating between vestibular, proprioception, feedback to them while engaging them in the things that they need to do, and looking at the differences and how you can make it all fit together and help.
Brenda, how about you?
Keep pushing buttons, sorry. I did like the explanation that you gave with the vestibular and the being able to copy from the board. That's something that I haven't been able to explain very well, so that was helpful. And I do also like your handstand from the fact that I work in a lot of very tiny spaces. So it's some, it's very challenging to find movement and those sorts of things for my students where we're not running into things. So that is something that I can always find something to pick up.
Well, in there is some balance that goes along with it inside the facilitation guide. So I recommend that you download it and see what other things, and then you can get back to me on what you like.
And I would love to get my teachers on board to do some of those things as well.
Well, I would love to get more teachers on board to these conversations. I can't
No,
see.
and it seems like every time I have a connection with a teacher, then the next year they're not back. So I start all over with a new group of teachers. So
yeah, there we go.
yeah.
Kelly, what was your takeaway?
So there was a few really new concepts for me as a non-OT, really focused on Orton Gillingham in my daily life. The interoception, brand new. Proprioception, brand new. Vestibular system, I was familiar with. I knew it needed to be stimulated. And then beyond that, now I just have like this, it's like you lit a little candle and I'm ready to go diving deep into that, because I mentioned I have a son who I strongly believe has dysgraphia.
Grab that handstand flipped. I'll tell you what, it has made a difference.
So
in
interesting.
his life.
And ever since he was little, he has rocked his head back and forth, especially when he's trying to go to sleep. He's not a hyperactive kid at all. But it's all these connections are happening for me just with him. And he's 16 at this point. So it's looking back at his development's very, very interesting. So yeah, personally and professionally, I got quite a bit. Thank you.
Thank you. Kaya, you've been around me for a little while. What did you gain tonight?
I don't know. Just I have fun listening to you. You're fun.
She knows how to let people in now.
Yes. I also know what not to do when testing a new connection. So I don't get cut off from my mouse.
Yeah. So everybody, Kaya and I have been working together for a little while, and I'm supposed to be headed to New York City to do the workshop with her school. So we're negotiating that right now. I am looking forward to coming to wherever you guys are, and would love to come and talk with your school. So if you have any teachers that you think would appreciate this, we can talk about how to get the school to say, yes, we'll let all the K-2 teachers learn this product, because this is for them. Really, this is for them. This isn't for the OTs. This is for the teachers. They need to know this. They just don't know it. You guys know what you're doing. I just gave you some clarification on words.
About why we're doing it. Absolutely.
About why we're doing it. Yeah.
Can I ask a quick question?
You sure may.
Impact, that acronym is new to me. What does the A stand for?
Did I not go over it? A, action. It's
Action.
like taking action. Sorry.
That's okay.
Probably totally missed that when I was doing that thing, because I really didn't have a really good thing that I wanted to share with you. So yeah, A is for action. So the new program that I am developing that is going to be going alongside the book after Math Disconnected is called Impact to Lead. And when you're taking the fast track, that is what we're really focusing on, is that impact to lead. And so you got the 6 words there. LEAD stands for love with excellence, abundance, and diligence. So we really need to learn how to love these kids and teach them excellence, abundance, and diligence. Any other things before we end this evening? Kaya, can you hold on for a few minutes afterwards? Okay. All right. Anybody else have anything? You're welcome, Jennifer. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Laura.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Brenda. You're welcome, Kelly. All right. Stop.
I think we're alone now.